Fairy Sirens, the podcast where we deep dive into our favorite myths and legends from around the world, as well as from our favorite books and movies. I'm Yenny.
And I'm Sarah.
And today we're going to be looking a bit closer at the world of Fae.
It's a dangerous subject, but we are willing to risk dancing for hundreds of years for our listeners. Today, we are looking at the classification of the fair folk, specifically
the Seelie and Unseelie Courts.
If you've ever read Holly Black, Cassandra Clare, or Sarah J. Maas, you've got an idea of what we're talking about today. In recent media, the term Seelie and Unseelie has become hugely popular. Fans of the fantasy genre will recognize these terms as a way of categorizing fairies. This is not a new custom. Nordic mythology divided their magical creatures into good and bad, or light and dark. Philosophers and scientists of the Middle Ages classified magical creatures by elements. So, what are the Seelie and Unseelie Courts? The classification of Seelie and Unseelie Courts comes from Scottish folklore. These words, as we know them today, are fairly recent terms, with their first printed appearances occurring in the late 1800s and early 1900s.
So fairly new.
Yeah, exactly. While it would be a massive oversimplification to divide the groups of Fae as good or bad, the Seelie and Unseelie Courts act as a shorthand of dividing up hostile and less hostile Fae.
But for our book girlies, Seelie equals hot Fae guy who might ask you to be his, while Unseelie is the scary Fae guy who will definitely kill you and your whole family. For fun.
Perfect.
For fun.
Now, in some legends, the Fae of the Seelie Court include fairies who were indifferent towards and would avoid making the first move in harming humans. They would certainly get up to mischief if provoked by humans, but they tended to act a bit more like bumblebees. Don't bother us, and we won't bother you.
That's a really cute analogy, but I think if I see a bumblebee, I will scream and swat at
No,
it.
don't. Bumblebees are adorable. They're wonderful.
They're huge. You sent me a picture. I've never seen one.
Oh, you've never? Oh, yeah. No, they're very sweet. They're very sweet.
I don't know about sweet.
They're very sweet.
All right, wait a second. I'm so sorry. We're going to go into bumblebee logic right now.
Yeah.
Or just, we need to explain it a little bit. Bees and bumblebees are different, correct?
They are, it's kind of like saying dog versus golden retriever.
So bumblebee is a species of bee.
Yes.
What about the little bees that bite you or sting you?
Are you thinking of wasps?
No, I'm talking about bee.
All bees will sting, but for the most part, bees won't sting you unless they are provoked, because also stinging will kill the bee. It's a last resort. Yeah.
Yeah, because I have the tiny bees. But I remember you sent me a picture of a bumblebee sleeping on a flower, and I said, so God, thank you for not having me there, because I would spray Raid on that bitch. So, like, it's...
No, you can't. They're so sweet.
But they're not the same as the tinier.
Yeah,
bees.
that's a different species of bee, most likely.
You know, you learn something new every day, because I just thought they were bees.
Yeah.
And then bumblebee was just like, I don't know, the transformer evolution of like I just thought bumblebee was like the evolution, like Pokemon.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's perfect. I love that. Well, now that we've clarified bees and bumblebees, so we're going to say the Seelie Court are like bees. Don't bother us, we won't bother you. So therefore, the Unseelie Court would be more like the wasps of the Fae world. It didn't matter if a human had left the Fae of the Unseelie alone. The fact that a human even existed in the vicinity of an Unseelie Fae was itself a problem. And to reiterate, this is the behavior of the Seelie and Unseelie in some legends. There's a lot of contradiction. It depends on which folklorist you're reading and what their view is of fairy and all fairy kind.
Yes.
So, in all seriousness, the Seelie and Unseelie are two sides of the same coin. Neither can be controlled by humans. Neither are predictable. Both are wild. One side simply prefers things which are light and what mankind would deem beautiful and good, while the other side prefers the dark, the mysterious, and what mankind would see as threatening.
Or, in some tales, morally gray and sexy.
Oh, definitely. Definitely that one. All right, so as mentioned earlier, Seelie and Unseelie Courts are recent terms. The words that would have been more commonly seen before the late 1800s would be Seelie.
And that's with a Y. S-E-E-L-Y. We'll explain in a minute.
Exactly. So, our current word Seelie, S-E-E-L-I-E, comes from the Anglo-Saxon word Salic, meaning prosperous, happy, or innocent. Over hundreds of years, Salic became silly in modern English, while in Scotland, Salic became pious, worthy, or peaceful. Hence why the modern word Seelie, S-E-E-L-I-E, is still in use today. It didn't lose as much in translation in Scots, the language of lowland Scotland. So, with that confusing understanding of Salic and Seelie, Unseelie would naturally be the not innocent, the not happy. The fae of this court were often associated with evil witches, the devil, the dark, and unnatural relations. So likewise, court didn't just mean royalty, though often in poems and stories we are greeted by fae kings and queens. Court also meant troop or retinue. You know, your group of friends, your gang, your D&D party.
Sarah, are we a court of sirens?
Absolutely.
I love it. All right, Sarah. Thank you so much for telling us about S-E-E-L-Y and S-E-E-L-I-E. But exactly who are in these courts? Like, is there specific types of species of fae that are in one court and another court?
Sometimes. So, within Scottish folklore, the Seelie court is made up of any fair folk referred to as good neighbors. They are the fae who can be appeased by humans and who can bring good fortune if they like you. They have been known to offer help to humans, as well as seek out help from humans. The Seelie court is strongest during the spring and summer months and is primarily composed of elves, wolvers, pixies, selkies, brownies, the queen of Elfame, the souls of children murdered by their parents, the souls of humans who cannot gain access to heaven or hell, and others. They tend to be excitable, jovial. The hosts of fairy feasts do not eat the food. They get up to mischief, both fun and disastrous, and enjoy dancing and other festivities. Do not join them in a dance.
Okay, hold on. But what if they have croquetas, and what if they start doing the cha-cha slide? This is a difference. You got me at cha-cha slide. I love the cha-cha slide.
Then you will cha-cha slide forever.
That is not a bad way to live.
So, while they often offer to help humans with farming, household tasks, and other minor issues, they never do anything for free. And their contracts often have very wide loopholes. Basically, don't depend on or ask for help from a member of the Seelie court. But also, don't offend them. Keep in mind, it was the queen of the Seelie court who kidnapped the human Tam Lin in that legend.
Yes, and if you're wondering about that, check out our first ever episode where we talk about Tam Lin, not to be confused with Tamlin from A Court of Thorn and Roses.
Two different characters.
Absolutely. Let's chat about some of these fae species, if you will, found in the Seelie courts. I'll be doing just a quick explanation of all the ones Sarah spoke of, because we're gonna more than likely cover them in future episodes with a lot more detail.
For sure.
Just take this as a little snacky snack. So let's go through them. Elves. There are two kinds of elves, light and dark. And as you can guess, the light elves are usually part of the Seelie court, while the dark ones prefer the Unseelie. While known for their mischief and volatility, apparently known in some folklore to give diseases to humans and cattle alike, they can also be benevolent. A very big
Yes.
Wolvers. A wolf-like humanoid creature. described best as having a furry body and the head of a wolf, comes from Scottish folklore, specifically in the Shetland Islands. Mostly benevolent creatures, unless provoked, wolvers were actually known to share their fish with locals.
According to legend, they do have a soft spot in their heart for the hungry and poor.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing. There's probably a book out there somewhere about a woman who fell in love with a wolver.
I mean,
Always
absolutely.
happens.
Absolutely.
Pixies. A mischievous and tiny fairy-like creature who loves dancing in the moonlight. Perhaps they too are Top Loader fans? Heyo. Well, if the band Top Loaders consists of frogs and crickets, then I guess so, because that's their favorite type of music.
I love it.
Pixies love to prank humans and usually lead them on until they get lost. Ever heard of the term pixie-led or pixelated? Well, you can thank Tinkerbell for that one.
Huh.
Selkies. Found all over Scotland, Ireland, and Iceland, these gentle and magical creatures are known to shapeshift from seal to human, and are said to be quite beautiful too. A Selkie's skin is very important. They can shed their seal skin to become human, but if their skin, or hide, is taken from them, they will remain in their human form until it is returned. And that is very sad.
That is very sad. They get trapped.
They get trapped. Also, shameless plug-in, if you want to kind of see the story of a Selkie son who is a demigod in love with a regular old girl, you can go ahead and check out Demigods of San Francisco, where yours truly is the narrator and voice for Alexis Price.
I love it.
Yes, by Graphic Audio. So,
woo! Go Yenny.
And Sarah's in it too.
As a few miscellaneous characters, primarily Red. I love Red.
Yes. Yeah, you'll see her in, I think that's the 4th book. So
I think so.
All right. No more shameless plug-in. Let's go back to it. Brownies, also known as gruagox in Gaelic. I'm so sorry if I said that wrong, but I hope it's right. Your very own household spirit, known to be gentle creatures with an unfortunately ugly exterior. Poor things.
Aww.
Yeah, but they're sweet, so that's
sweet.
what counts. Dressed in rags and able to become invisible, if a brownie is given an article of clothing or is baptized, for some reason, by their master, they will leave forever. Dobby, is that you?
Oh my gosh. Now, personally, I've always loved the brownies in the fantasy film Willow, especially when one falls victim to a love spell and falls in love with the first thing he sees, which is a house cat.
Oh, I haven't seen that movie. I have to watch
great.
it.
It's great. It is a 1980s fantasy trip, I think by George Lucas. Yeah, it's great. I love it. All right, so thank you for going over those species, Yenny. Now
You're
let's
welcome.
travel to the other side.
No.
The Unseelie are comprised of fae who feed off of human emotions and the negatively perceived aspects of mankind. They are strongest during the autumn and winter months and hold the secrets to the untamed and dangerous aspects of nature. Members of the Unseelie Court include banshees, redcaps, doulahans, kelpies, slua, and changelings. They are quieter, more introverted than their Seelie counterparts. They employ strict logic in their contracts with humans and are clearer with their terms and deals. Usually. So, the Unseelie would be quicker to kill a human outright than trick them into agreeing to their own death. And while their powers are often less appealing, powers of prophecy, foretelling of death and doom, etc., it can be easier to avoid an Unseelie trap.
And just as we did with the Seelie, let's go ahead and talk about some of the members found in the Unseelie Court. Banshees. While you wouldn't want most of the fae creatures near you, the Banshee is definitely one you want to avoid. The harbinger of death. These spirits appear to warn you of impending death with their piercing cries and wails. If you perhaps get to see it with your own eyes, it may appear as a woman, young or old, a bird, or a cat. And just as soon as you catch it, it'll disappear into mist. And then you probably die.
Yeah, great.
Redcaps. Camping out in abandoned castles and forts, these evil little goblins definitely want to do humans harm. Why are they named redcaps? Well, after you stumble across their not-so-humble abode, you'll more than likely be stoned to death. Once killed, the goblins will soak their hats, or caps, in your blood, giving it that, lovely reddish tint.
Yes. Taryn's adoptive father, Maddock, in The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, is a redcap. And I believe there's a scene in the book where he, refreshes his hat.
Doolahans. Meet nearly headless Nick's cousin, who definitely was allowed in the headless hunt, the headless horseman, a.k.a. the Doolahan of Celtic mythology. I was about to say Celtic.
I saw that. I saw that twinkle come into your eye. I'm so proud of you.
I was like, no.
Great job. Great job.
Celtic.
Yes. You got this.
Yeah. Depending on the day, the Doolahan may be riding on one horse or be pulled in a carriage led by 6. I mean, I guess it depends if he wants to be extra that day. I'm not sure.
It would just like lay back and just like, yes, let all the ponies do the work.
He is a soul stealer and will ride with his head held up high in his hand in search of souls. If you see him, you will be blinded. And if he calls your name, your soul will be taken.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I mean, you said that oh no a little bit like, oh yes. Kelpies. Not to be confused with their cousins, the Selkies, these magical creatures shapeshift from horses to humans. While Selkies are gentle in nature, Kelpies, not so much. You'll sooner get dragged, devoured, and have your insides thrown in a local stream than taken out to dance in the moonlight with a hot water spirit.
Dang it.
A little trick to tell real horses from Kelpies apart is by looking at their hooves. Kelpies are backwards.
Listen, if a Kelpie could betray a sweet soul like Senshi from Delicious in Dungeon, then I want nothing to do with them.
You are way more into anime than I am. That is an anime, right?
Yes.
There you go. I tried. Or Stanley.
I mean, I do love Stanley. Like, that's the other thing. Like, I have to say, as the horse girl in this duo, I would not trust this fairy horse. I barely trust my mortal horse.
There you go. So don't be fooled if a horsey looks at you and is like, oh, why don't we go into this water over here? You can pet me there. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
The Slua. Keep your cattle far from these. The Slua, or host of the dead, is a group of souls said to look like a group of gray birds in the sky. They are known to grab a victim and transport them far away. Sometimes, but not commonly so, they can aid a human in peril.
If a human were caught in the crosshairs of a group of Slua during a wild hunt, there's very little they could do to save themselves. Just saying.
Right.
They're not usually there to help.
They're particularly fond of taking humans who have found true love. Oh no, Sarah.
They're jealous.
That means they're jealous and they're going to take us away.
Oh, no.
They're going to take us away. Yeah. Alex is not allowed to date anyone if I'm taken by the Slua.
Oh, absolutely.
He's just going to have to find me.
Absolutely.
He's going to have to figure out how to find me. Jared better do the same thing.
Yeah, I've told Jared, if anybody ever tells you Sarah would have wanted you to move on, no, that person didn't know me.
That's a lie. That's a lie. I want you to stay
Come get me.
Single. Come get me.
Come get me if the Slua took me.
All right, last but not least, changelings. Unlike what we've spoken in our past episodes, changelings in the Unseelie Court are considered weak or deformed elves and usually unwanted fairy children. Fairies would steal healthy human children and give the humans the fays, unwanted children. If the human would make the changeling laugh or torture it, which, what, if you can make him laugh, just make
him laugh.
Them.
My gosh.
Their human child would be returned. Unfortunately, a lot of people ended up not making them laugh and instead would torture the child.
That's horrible.
And this belief, unfortunately, brought up many cases of child abuse that historians later found.
That's horrible.
Because if their child was like deformed or something, then they thought it was
it's a changeling.
An elf. Yeah. So a lot of them would also leave their children in the woods for the fairies to have them. It's a very, very unfortunate situation. Sometimes beliefs are not very good for you.
Right. So, now that we know, generally speaking, who is in which court, how can humans appease them? Well, for the Seelie, it is best to flatter and speak well of them. In most Scottish folklore, the Seelie are always listening and prefer to be called the good neighbors, the fair folk, and Seelie wights, which translates to blessed beings. Basically, humans don't call the Seelie court Seelie because they're good. Humans call them that because it will keep the Seelie court happy. Now, for staying on good terms with the Unseelie, well, that might be a bit trickier. As we said earlier, sometimes the Unseelie will ignore humans, but more often than not, they enjoy harming them. Still, other members of the Unseelie court can be avoided if spotted early enough. In short, give any member of the Unseelie court a wide berth and don't draw attention to yourself. If you are spotted, compliment the fae, be respectful, and perhaps offer it a gift. Good luck.
Good luck.
Now, here are a few more tips to survive encounters with the fae, be they Seelie or Unseelie, according to legends. Avoid fairy rings. Everyone knows this one, but I don't feel like anyone takes it seriously enough. If you find a circle naturally occurring in the natural world, made of mushrooms, moss, rocks, etc., do not step in it! That is a fast way to be noticed by the fae, and in some myths, fairy rings are portals directly into their world.
Book talk babes. Not every fairy out there is like Reasoned, Cassian, and Asriel, okay?
Nope.
Trust me when I say, you are more likely to be their plaything than be their love interest. But I mean, if that's what you want, power to you. But
Whew.
we did warn you.
We did warn you. We have warned you. Keep any Seelie fairies who may be in or around your house happy with small offerings. Set out some fruit, cream, honey, maybe a sprig of rosemary, where your household brownie or pixie can find it. Don't expect any gifts in return, but you may notice that there aren't as many cobwebs in the corner of your house. Most fae detest iron and will avoid it. Use this information as you will. Many Seelie fairies like to play mischievous pranks that may be startling, but do not cause serious harm. Examples include stealing blankets, hiding shoes, turning into a gold coin and yelling at you if you try to pick it up. If you are the victim of such a prank, do not chastise or yell at the fairy. Saying you are startled and that it was a good prank is acceptable. Yelling and name-calling is a one-way ticket to being abducted by the fairies.
Also, yelling and name-calling to an invisible being might make your family worried about your health, and not everyone believes in this, so don't just start yelling out at nothing.
For Seelie and Unseelie alike, do not accept their hospitality. They offer you food? Politely decline. They offer to do you a favor? Politely decline. They ask if you want anything? Politely decline. Anything good a fairy can give you will be given of the fairy's own free will at a time of their choosing.
Yeah, this is like saying, when you meet a stranger, you're not going to accept a stranger's food.
No.
You're not going to go with them into the woods.
No.
So come on, just politely decline. That's it. Even if they're hot, it's not
Even if
worth
they're
it.
hot.
Don't do it.
So is all of this clear as mud? Great. Welcome to the world of fairies. Members of the Seelie court are more likely to be friendly to humans, but you must not completely trust these fairies. Members of the Unseelie court are more likely to kill a human on sight, so it is best not to be seen by them. They are not opposites, but they are not the same. One side is bright and shining, one side is shadowy and mysterious. They are yet another representation in mythology of the beautiful and tragic cycles of life and nature. So with that, let's move on to Seelie and Unseelie courts in modern media. Just real quick, I personally believe Tinkerbell might be the perfect example of a Seelie fairy. Beautiful, clever, mischievous, loyal, but also has no problem in telling a group of young boys to kill a young girl.
Yeah, but I do like her outfit, so
Oh, it's a great outfit.
I'm okay with it. The Story Collector by Evie Woods is a wonderful dual romance, one in 1910 and one in 2010, surrounding an American and Irish protagonist, with a side of traditional Irish fae folklore. It's super cute. I'm actually reading it right now. It's really nice to just kind of cozy up in your sofa with a warm blanket and read it. It's very, very sweet story.
I'm going to have to look this up. This sounds great. The Folk of the Air trilogy by Holly Black, a.k.a. the Cruel Prince series, features Seelie and Unseelie Courts and many classic fae who swear their allegiances to the different courts.
Holly Black also wrote Tithe, which was my first introduction to Holly Black's writing, a sequel named Valiant, and Tithe's direct sequel Ironside. I know it's confusing, but the whole trilogy, called Modern Tale of Fairy, is really worth the read.
And
it's
I think
really good book.
I think they have crossovers between those two trilogies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Wicked Wood trilogy, starting with the book Darling, There Are Wolves in the Woods by Lydia Russell, establishes the rules of Seelie and Unseelie Courts and how both are dangerous in their own way. And, shameless plug, if you are interested in that book series, I narrate the very first one, Darling, There Are Wolves in the Woods, and it's available on Audible.
Also, I listened to Sarah's narration. Sarah has a really sexy guy voice. So, yeah, it's true. It's true. I was like, damn, girl, calm down. Loved it. All right, so though not specified, the movie Strange Magic, directed by Gary Rydstrom and produced by Lucasfilms, hello, Star Wars and Indiana Jones fans, showcases a lot of what could be seen as a movie about the Seelie and Unseelie Courts. In the movie, the two main characters come from two different kingdoms, the Fairy Kingdom and the Dark Forest. There's music, dancing, laughing, and maybe a few smooches here and there.
Ooh, smooches, you say.
Yes.
The Seelie Court is a powerful political faction in the Critical Role D&D series. And before people get too excited about that, let's move to our siren call.
Here's something a little different. Let us know in the comments whether you would be a part of the Seelie or Unseelie Court. Me? I'd probably be a Seelie Court member. I'm not mean. I can't be. What about you, Sarah?
You know, I think I would probably be Seelie. Could I be like an autumn Seelie? Because I know the Unseelie have autumn and winter, but I'm thinking I'd probably be Seelie. I enjoy a fun prank here and there, but you know,
Yeah.
I'm pretty good-natured.
Yeah, we're good-natured. Do you think our hubbies would be Seelie too? Who am I kidding? They're both cinnamon rolls. They're going to be a Seelie. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in with us today, and we'll see you next week.
Bye!
Thanks for listening to Story Sirens. You can follow us on Instagram at Story Sirens Podcast. Want to support us? Send us a cup of Ko-fi by searching ko-fi.com/storysirens. We've got lots of treats for those who become siren seekers. All research materials can be found in the episode summary. Music by Donald Guzzi and artwork by Alexis Torres. Story Sirens is a Feather and Fin production. See you soon.